What's up, everybody out there in grip world? This is Napalm, Jedd Johnson, and this is This Week in Grip. It's a special episode of This Week in Grip. As you know, I have not put out an episode in quite some time. That's because, guys, it just got to be a very, very stressful situation in order to put the podcast together. As you know, it's not your normal kind of podcast because I don't put this up on any kind of podcast software, despite the fact that many of you have asked me to do so. Never learned how to do that, never looked into it, and I always wanted to keep everything here on YouTube. As you know, started out with video footage back in the beginning of the podcast. Started out with video footage that matched up to what we were talking about. That got to be very difficult, and then over the years it was just audio over top of a still shot. And when my laptop died last November, the new one that I got, the software that I used in order to edit this stuff, it was a real pain in the ass. So the ones that I did when we were still doing them, it was very, very time consuming. It was truly a labor of stress. And as much as I love doing the podcast, interacting with Alan and James Aritas, for all the time that we did the podcast, it just got to be very, very, very stressful in order to do so. So that is the primary reason why the This Week in Grip podcast here on my YouTube channel ceased to take place. And really, only a few people have reached out wondering what's going on. So as viewership was dropping, that became a factor as well. And then Alan got a new job. It was very, very hectic for him. James ran into a patch where during the COVID lockdown, he had to do some stuff out of the ordinary with his business, and it just got to be very, very hard to even schedule a call. So today, I'm going to be joined by Eric Hussein. He and Andrew Pankey are the main coordinators of the King Kong of Grip competition that will take place on October 24th. And we're gonna be talking about this because we want to get as many people involved in King Kong and grip sport as possible this year. So that's coming your way on October 24th, 2020. And Eric and I will be talking about that. He'll be chiming in real soon. In the meantime, what you want to do, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's going to notify you every time a new video goes up, which some of those could end up being future TWIG podcasts. Alan and James and I have been talking about relaunching the podcast to get it going again when we have time. There's no clear-cut date as far as when that's going to happen, but we have been talking about it. We have been revisiting it, and we may end up getting it going again. As you know, there's been a ton of great stuff going on in grip. One of the things that I thought about doing was just a highlight show by myself of some of the stuff that's been going on in grip, and huge feats going down all over the place. So many of them from guys like Tanner Merkel, Adam Glass, and many, many, many more people. And one of the things you're seeing a lot more of here recently has been training footage from people for King Kong of Grip. And like I said, Eric would be joining in, and I think he's on the call now.
Here.
Is that you, Eric?
That's me.
All right, man. Awesome. Eric reached out to me, asked if I wanted to do a show with him, and I said absolutely. So, Eric, thanks for making time. Thanks for reaching out, and I'm looking forward to doing this special King Kong of Grip episode here on This Week in Grip, my man.
Awesome.
Now, if you don't know Eric Hussein, this guy has been involved with grip sport for close to 10 years. He's been doing arm wrestling for 20 plus, right, Eric?
Yeah, since 96.
Yeah, so he's been in the thick of this stuff for a long, long time. And Andrew Pankey and Eric joined forces in, what was the first year, Eric? That was 2013, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, they joined forces in 2013. They put on the first King Kong of Grip. Let's see, who were the champions, Eric? We had Yuha Haryu the first year at 2013. Then it was Ari something, another Finnish competitor. Yeah. So he won it in 2014. I took it in 2015. Then who? It was Gil Goodman, 2016?
Gil in 2016, yeah.
2016. 2017 and 2018 were both Tank, right? Alexi Tukalo.
Yeah. Alexi Tukalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then last year was Tanner Merkel.
Tanner Merkel.
And I would guess that he was probably the lightest of all those guys, right? Body weight-wise?
I'm not sure how much Ari weighed. I know he wasn't a big guy. I'd have to double-check that.
Yeah, we'd have to look back on that. And I remember talking with Ari several years ago. It was like shortly after the King Kong that he won, where he ended up developing some pretty serious arm injuries. So we haven't heard anything from him. I haven't heard anything from him in probably 5 years, to be honest with you. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, same with me. Same thing. Yeah. Same thing. I haven't. I'm not sure where he's at.
Yeah, man, crazy stuff. So, Eric, give everybody, just in case we have new people listening who haven't seen some of the stuff that you've done and been involved in. Can you give us just a rundown on your career in grip and arm wrestling?
Sure. So arm wrestling, like I said, I've been doing that for a long time. I kept training, got to the point where I was competitive at the national level. I'm in Canada, so I won the nationals, I think, in 2005. I've participated in a lot of the WAL, World Arm Wrestling League, finals when they had the tournaments. So in 2014, 15, 16, 17, everything built up to a huge tournament. And I was luckily enough, I was able to qualify to compete in those year-end championships all 4 years. And those were probably some of my favorite tournaments in my life. They were just huge productions. About 10 years ago, I realized that grip contests exist, but the first few years I never competed. And then I decided, well, I know I'm pretty good at some of these lifts. Let's see how it goes. And I competed, had a great time, did well, and decided to start promoting up here in Canada. So yeah, it's been about 10 years of traveling all over, and I usually host 3 or 4 contests a year up here.
Right, and of course, the coronavirus has made it very, very difficult for running competitions. I know, like you said, you're usually doing multiple per year. You ran the one in January, which I attended, which was a great time. If you ever have the opportunity to go to one of Eric's competitions, you should. He held that one in January, which was the King of Pinch competition, and he held that right in his basement of his house, and it was a real good time. It was not a real good time traveling. It was snowy beyond belief. There was like a foot of snow on the road. We had to stay with Devin Larrett after the competition for a night. That was quite the experience, though. So it was a great time. So what we're looking to do here, guys, is we're trying to put out information about King Kong in order to invite as many people as possible to come to the competition and get involved. And how many locations are we up to now, Eric, in this worldwide grip competition?
Right now we're sitting at 25. So maybe I can talk a little about this. So for those who are not familiar with King Kong, it is a multi-venue tournament. In other words, we have 25 promoters holding the contest the same day or almost the same day with the same standardized equipment, and it allows us to compare results. So basically, if the average place has 10 competitors, well, we have 25 venues. All of a sudden, you're competing against 250 people from around the world. And the great thing about King Kong is, we're talking about 10 different countries right now: Canada, U.S., the U.K., Germany, Austria, Norway, Finland, Russia, Ukraine, Australia. I might be forgetting one. But the point is, with COVID, we're facing different restrictions depending on where we live. But the good thing is that because these are small contests, you know, a 25 small contest can make a really huge kick-ass contest. So I have not competed in grip since January. I'm really looking forward to finally being able to compete. So it's I really think this is a good time to get people excited about this. You know, we haven't had many opportunities to compete this year, so hope everyone who's interested in competing can find a location that's not too far from them. Yeah,
for sure. I was going to run a competition in February that was going to be just the normal, you know, we usually run like a winter competition in February just to have fun. And in 2019, we called it Cupid's Nightmare. The year before that, I think we called it the Cold Snap Classic. So it's always a little bit different name, but it's always in February. And we didn't end up running that for whatever reason. I'm not sure. And I switched gears and wanted to run a U.S. National Championship. And I'll be darned, I had to reschedule it 3 different times due to the state of Pennsylvania being shut down. So finally, we got that in July, and we had a really good turnout. And I'm looking forward to the next one as well. So it'll be like a 3-month layoff, I guess, August to September to October, 3 months. So they'll be looking for a real good crowd here. I know that I've already got a couple people, one woman in particular who's interested in competing, who has no idea what grip is, but she just likes the idea of it. So she's going to be coming. Having one youngster that is really interested, and he has competed with me a couple times in the past and even has a world record for his age group and weight class on the 2-hand pinch. So he's been coming to one of my classes at the gym that the lady is also coming to. So we get through our main workout here at the gym, and then we start doing some grip stuff at the end. So we've been training for the competition in the lifting sessions, dude. So really excited about that. And then I've got two other people in an afternoon class who I just told them about it. Let's see, Friday, I believe, of last week, and they're gearing up for it too, man. So we're going to have a nice group here in Wyalusing, I believe, based on who's already reached out to me. You know, some of the more common attendees to my competitions have already reached out, plus, you know, some of the local guys that always compete, and some of these new folks that are looking to get their feet wet. So I'm pretty pumped.
That's great. Maybe I could talk about the different classes that are offered. So
that's a great idea. Why don't you tell everybody about that? Yeah.
Last year, for the first time, we offered a youth division. So kids as young as, well, really, the smallest class is 7 years and under. So it's an optional class for the promoters. So not all promoters will be offering these classes, but those who are, it's a free contest. As you know, at least we don't charge anything for the kids competition. The categories are broken down by gender and age. We don't go build in the weight because really there's too few people to make it worthwhile. But it's right. So whether you're a boy or a girl, I think it's 7 and under boys, 7 and under girls, and it's 8 to 10 years old, 11 to 13, 14, 15, and then 16, 17. So that's a great opportunity for kids who are interested in grip. For many of us, it's our own kids who are, you know, dabbling in it. They see us train and they want to try as well. So this is just a little opportunity for them to compete. And the top 3 in every class will receive a King Kong medal in the mail. So awesome. Hopefully people take advantage of that. For the adult classes, the men's classes are the same as last year. So starts at, I'll say them in kilos, 59 kilo, I think that's about 130 pounds, 66 kilo, 74, 83, 93 kilo, 105, 120, and then 120 plus. Mm-hmm. The women, it's slightly different. Last year we had two classes 2 years ago, and we decided to go with 4 classes just to see what happened. And there was actually, I think there was 0 competitors in the lightest women's class. So we still have 4 classes for the, so this year we have, 4 classes for the women. The smallest class is 72 kg and under. Then it's 84. And then the new one this year is we've added a 100 kg class for the women. because we took a look at the results. We said, the heavyweight, the unlimited class for the women was the biggest class, and we sort of looked for the middle break. And if we put it at 220 pounds, it gives a nice even split, and maybe makes it a little fair for everyone who's involved. So we're trying that out this year, and we'll see what happens. And once again, we have a masters division for the men. So any man 50 years of age or older competes in the master class in addition to their regular weight class, and that's where there's only a single entry fee. So as soon as you're over 50, you get a bonus class to compete in.
Nice, excellent.
Yeah.
I don't
know. Did you run? Pardon?
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
I was wondering, did you run the kids classes last year?
I don't think I had any kids that were in the competition. It's hard for me to remember though. I almost think that Aaron might have been there. Aaron Carr, the kid that I was talking about that has been training.
Oh, right.
And he's the guy that has the two-hand pinch world record for his age group. So I think he competed last year. Yeah.
I think there was something like 30. I think there was 30 or 35 kids who competed around the world. So like I said, even if it's only two or three per venue, it adds up, and it's a lot of fun for the kids to realize that they're competing against kids from Russia, kids from Finland. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. Yeah, I think the more awareness around that, the better. So any of the promoters that are planning on running a venue this year, if you can put that out there, that there's going to be a kids group, a kids division, that could be more people coming into your gym, more eyes to see what's going on, could help your gym business as well as getting new blood into the sport. So that's good to know. I'm glad that we covered all that.
With kids, it's especially the young kids, they generally don't have the patience to hang around all day. So I actually run my kids event the night before. So the kids compete on the Friday night, and then I run the regular contest on the Saturday. Just makes it easier for everyone involved. So that is an option for any promoters who are interested in running kids. It does not have to be on the same day, as long as it's no later than October 24th.
Great. Awesome. I forget, was there a Masters category last year?
Yes, there's been a Masters category, if not since the beginning, for several years now.
Okay. I remember Mike Rinderly talking about the Masters category. Who won that last year? I can't remember.
I think Ardo won it last year, but I know I'm pretty sure Mike got top 3.
Okay. Yeah. I forgot Ardo was that old. I guess I forgot about that.
Maybe we can talk about the events this year.
Yeah, we definitely got to cover the events. A lot of people that I've talked to they're pretty excited about the Flask, and they like everybody that's gotten their hands on the Little Bighorn has really liked it. So I think it's a good mix of events this year. Eric, why don't you run off the order and we'll talk about each one in a little bit of detail.
Sure. So as usual, we start off the contest with a pinch event. This year, it's the one-hand flask. So I think it's a few years we've been running that one so far. Second event up is the Crusher. This year, it's a 2.25-inch Crusher. Normally, in the past couple of years, it's been a 2.5-inch Crusher. Third event is the new event, the Grab Ball. That one's going to be interesting because it is the first time it's being contested, as far as I'm aware. And it's a little hard to predict how people are going to do in that one. And then the last one is, once again, the Little Bighorn lift to 6 inches. I agree. I think generally people like the Flask and the Crusher and the Little Bighorn. The one that we switch every year, I don't know. I'm sure some people love the Grab Ball. Some people will not like it. But it does test a slightly different element of hand strength. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it pans out.
Right, exactly. So the Flask, Crusher, Grab Ball, Little Bighorn, So the Flask is the pinch event, and it is an aluminum device that's pinned to a loading pin with a bolt, and then weight is added to it, and then you have to lift it 7.5 inches. The way that these events work, everybody, is on the loading pin there is a knock bar or a crossguard bar that is attached to the loading pin, and it juts out beyond the weights. And then the objective is to pick the implement up. All these are one-handed devices. You pick the implement up, that knock bar has to hit a crossbar at a certain height. So for the Flask, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, the height on the Flask is 7.5 inches, correct?
I believe so. If not 7.5, it's 7.5 or 8. It's one of those two. But that's about what we're looking at.
Yeah, it's all in the rules document. I'm going by memory, so we all know that's kind of risky. But and then once you hit the crossbar, then you have to lower the implement back down. Any kind of loss of grip, if it slips and falls out of your hand, even if you broke the world record for your weight class, if it slips out of your hand, it's a no lift. So anybody that's training this need to be ready for that, because that's an important rule. That over the years, there's always been somebody who has a really big lift and then loses it after they hit the crossbar. So that's an important aspect of grip, is being able to maintain it back to the ground. Do you ever have anything like that happen at your locations?
Oh yeah, for sure. That always happens. But the good thing about how we run King Kong and how a lot of grip sport contests are run nowadays is that each competitor has a minute in which to get a successful lift. So if that does happen and it's your first attempt and you still have time on the clock, you can try it again. It makes things a lot less stressful. You know, you have a minute to get it done. So if you fail the first time, you still have time on the clock, you might be able to get on your second or even third try. So, but yeah, that's very common. I think we've all experienced either hitting the bar and then dropping it before we make it, or just it's slipping out of our hand when we're like a millimeter from the crossbar. Yes, that's when you hear the ooh and the chuckles and laughs and the smiles and the swear words get thrown out is when you get so darn close to that crossbar and it comes out of your hand. Yeah, it sucks. It happens to everyone though. The one year I remember, it was the year, I guess it would have been 2 years ago, 2018, when it was the jug handle, the 2.5-inch jug, and Luke took a lift of, I want to say 300 pounds on that thing, which he and I both were right at 300 pounds in training, and he ended up bettering me at the competition. I did not take an attempt at 300, but I'm pretty sure he did. And we set the video camera right in front of the crossbar, and when he picks it up, the knock bar swivels like super fast. Like as soon as he picked up, the whole thing swiveled, and it swiped right across the bottom of the crossbar, never made contact. You could not get any closer to the crossbar. So that was one of those moments, man. Like grip sport has a few like really high intensity events. Like probably one of my favorites is the pickaxe or the sledge choke events, because you have to pick that thing up and get it to a height, and it's a really fast moving event. So one person goes and the next person goes and the next person goes, and it seems to really get the crowd involved. And any event can turn into that when you have the crossbar that needs to be hit by the knock, because you get some of those that are just so darn close and don't quite hit it, and it really it kind of wakes people up. Like you hear, they might not be watching, they might be doing something on their phone, or they might be eating, and then all of a sudden you hear, bam, the weight slam, and and it was just so close. So it kind of snaps people up and gets their adrenaline going again, wakes them up, and kind of brings the crowd back to life. So it's an unfortunate occurrence for the person that's lifting, but it's good for the rest of the people there. Yeah. Anything else about the Flask, Eric? Unless we want to talk about, because one thing I'd like to do is maybe get into predictions. Do you want to do it by event now, or do you want to come back later and do predictions?
Let's come back because I want to talk about that too. So let's go on to the crusher. As you mentioned, it's the 2.5 inch crusher, or 2.25 inch crusher, which is a new event. And I believe that they were all updated with the same kind of rotating device on the inside. I believe is it a bushing or is it a ball bearing this year?
Oh, you'd have to ask Andrew that. I'm not the expert, but that is one of the reasons that one of the reasons for switching to the 2.25 is that there were several versions of the 2.5, and even though they're believed to work more or less the same way for across the board, we thought it might be a little better to go with a brand new sort of thing so that everyone's using the same handle. Mm-hmm. The smaller handle should make things a bit interesting. It's a little easier for people who don't have necessarily the hugest hands. But I expect the same names to be at the top of this list as the 2.5 list, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. I've found that there's some subtle differences in how I need to hold the crusher in order to get my best lift this year versus anything with the 2 3/8 or 2.5 inch. Yeah, I feel like almost the placement in my fingers, it needs to be a little bit different this year, or else, I can break it off, but I can't necessarily pull it all the way to lockout. I don't usually train with the knock bar in training. It's just a lot of stuff to set up. Plus, we might have 2 or 3 events going at the same time in the session, so we don't have that many knock bars. So we'll usually just train to what seems like the required height, or I'll just pull the lockout. So, yeah, I found it needs to be just a little bit different for it to feel right with the 2.25. But yes, I agree. I think it brings it back into an even more comfortable range for more people, whether they're large-handed or small-handed, so that it becomes a little bit more fair.
Yep.
And of course, the crusher is a solid steel handle. I guess it would be steel, and then it attaches to the loading pin much the same way, as opposed to the Rolling Thunder, which has elements of it that are made out of plastic. So I think the crushers definitely have a much better feel to them and a better rolling action than the crusher. So it's nice because the steel seems to take chalk a little bit better than say the Flask, which is made out of aluminum. So I like it for many reasons. It's going to be real good. Anything else on the crusher, Eric?
No, not for now.
All right. So next up is the grab ball, and like Eric said, this is a brand new event. This is an implement that was just introduced either late last year or early this year. As soon as it came out, I got mine, started playing with it. It was immediately frustrating for me. I thought for sure with my big hands it would be like a piece of cake to get the hang of it, but it took me 3 months of work to really figure out how I needed to put my grip on the device. Have you been training with it much, Eric?
I mean, I've been training with it, but it's not a good event for me. I've messed around with my grip trying to find different ways to hold it, and I still don't think I figured out what works best for me. So that one's a big question mark as to how, the type of list we'll see on this device. The origin of the grab ball is we typically switch that third event from year to year, only because we like to try something that tests something a little different, and it's rare that we land on a third event that's very, very popular. So this year, I told Andrew I was always a fan of the FBVC 8-pound bomb. Have you ever tried that event?
Yeah, I have.
Sort of like grabbing a cannonball.
Yep, I bought one of those really early on. I would say maybe, I want to say 2004, 2005, I had one of those. It's still at my house. Okay. I haven't used it in years. Sometimes when Joe Sullivan would come down to my house, he would get that out because I think he had one or he was just fond of it. but
Okay.
I haven't used it in a while. But I definitely know what you mean. It's just like a giant steel ball in your hand, like kind of a baseball-sized steel ball.
And the trick is you're not supposed to have your fingers go underneath the halfway mark. The rule for the 8-pound bound was you touch the eyelet, I guess, or whatever you call that little thing, with the tip of your middle finger, and then you place your hand. So it's sort of an open hand, sort of like the tips tester, how the tips tester blocks your fingers from going all the way. Same thing but with the ball. But it was hard to judge because, it's very hard to tell how much. There was nothing stopping a competitor from gripping it slightly differently. And obviously, the more your finger gets get underneath, it has a huge impact to the weight you can lift. So Andrew came up with the idea of sort of a bomb with a stopper. So basically, something that prevents your fingers from going underneath the ball. So that's where that came from. He built a little prototype, and then we decided, let's go with it, and just we'll see how it goes. But it is a different feel. Like, it doesn't feel like many of the other grip events that are in Grip Sport. I sort of equate it to sort of a tips tester in that you can't go all the way underneath, but with the shape of the ball, it's a little odd. So I think that people who will do very well in this event are people who have like a climbing background, who are used to holds of this type. I can tell you this is not my event. I'm struggling with it, but I think some people will do very well.
Yeah, and we've seen some numbers. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. I like it as well, and it was an affordable piece. I think it was only like $35 or $40 for the implement. I may have had a discount since I'm a promoter, but this is an implement that you could add to your arsenal without a huge investment. So that was cool as well.
Yeah, and that's more and more we have to consider that in King Kong, because with shipping overseas, it gets crazy. So we have to hope the implements that we go with have to be light enough or not too expensive. It's a balancing act.
Yes, no doubt about it. No doubt. All right. Anything else on the grab ball, big guy?
No, nothing more for the grab ball.
So the last event is the little bighorn. This is the anvil training device that Ironmind currently sells. It is a cone-shaped device, and it has an eye bolt underneath it that attaches to a carabiner, and we've seen this lift in competitions for a few years now, right? This has been in there. This is maybe I guess this is the second year currently, but it used to be in King Kong before, right? It was in like the first one or maybe the first two.
Correct, and back then it was to lockout, but we decided to go to 6 inch, just easier for judging, easier all around. So that's why. Yeah, but it is a popular lift. A lot of people do like it.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those events where hand size doesn't seem to be too much of a limiting factor. So
I agree.
Most of the people, if a person is finishing poorly on the little bighorn, it's generally because they're just not as strong as the people that are finishing ahead of them. It's not something where there's a roadblock in front of them because their hands are too small. The implement is cone-shaped, like we said, and it's narrower up to the top, so you're able to get a pretty decent grip around it, regardless of your hand size, your finger length, etc.
Yeah.
And it seems to be.
So
it's also in a lot of other competitions besides King Kong. So it should be an event that a lot of people who have, some more experience in grip sport would be familiar with, because they've probably seen it in lots of other competitions. I know that we did it in the February contest in 2019, and we also ran it in Nationals this year in July. So just right there's a couple other contests that it's been in. So it's been a fairly popular event the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, I agree. I've included in a few contests as well, and what I like is I feel that it's the weight lifted on the little bighorn I think is slightly lower than on a standard vertical bar, and I think that makes it a little safer. I might be wrong on that, but I feel it's safer than let's say a 2-inch V-bar lift.
Well, that's a great point because, we've heard of people tearing their bicep from vertical bar lifting, both for like 1-inch vertical bar and 2-inch vertical bar. And I'd say that probably more have been torn on the 2-inch vertical bar, even though the weights are lower on that. But I noticed for a long time, over many years, that people were getting into more and more of an underhand grip position when lifting the vertical bar, and you really get into a position where that bicep is fully extended and doesn't have a lot of strength. So one false move and it gets out of the perfect track, and you can have an incident take place. So I got to tell you, Eric, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I can't think of a single time where someone tore their bicep on a little bighorn.
Yeah, I can't think of any either. So hopefully that trend continues.
Yeah, like I said, knock on. I don't have any wood around here.
Grip is like any sport. There's a possibility for injury in any sport activity you do.
Absolutely.
We try to even, we show different techniques. We can even show people what are sort of the riskier techniques. But I think sharing knowledge as much as possible, sharing based on our experience, I think will help prevent any injuries.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm looking forward to. I think having that at the end. I think having that implement at the end, something that's really familiar with a lot of people, is good because they're looking forward to that throughout the whole competition. Whereas if the variable event were to be at the end of the contest, it might be something that people wouldn't look forward to as much. So I don't know if you know what I'm saying there, but it's nice to get that third one out of the way. And maybe you're not as familiar with it because it's a newer implement. Last year was the Dub Hub that we affectionately called Dumb Hub. But if you can put the time in on the implement and get used to it, it's a big advantage. So that's why, like, when this stuff comes out, I'm on it, man. I got to get that implement in here so that I can train on it. And what's funny is, both last year with the Dub Hub and this year with the grab ball, I was able to figure out my technique within a few months, whereas the little bighorn has taken me like 5+ years to finally figure anything out about that device, man. It's been such a stressful situation training on that thing, but you got to put the time in, you got to figure it out. Finally, in the last couple months, I've had a couple, I'm going to say, breakthroughs and actually set some like significant PRs. So that's probably one of the lifts I'm looking forward to competing on the most.
Okay, cool. I can't say that's the same for me.
What else? Anything else on the little bighorn, Eric?
No, I think we've describe these events as much as we can in an interview. Anyone who's unfamiliar with these events, I suggest doing a few YouTube searches or Google searches to see what these things look like if you're not aware.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead with some predictions, Eric. We can go down each event again, and maybe we can talk about some of the lifts that we'll be seeing, and maybe some of the competitors that'll come out at the top on each event.
Sure.
What are you thinking about the Flask?
The Flask, I'm thinking, I'm going with names, mostly people who competed in the past. So I know there are a lot of new people entering the sport. I can see, I see videos on Facebook and online of people doing some incredible things. But most of my predictions involve people who have competed in last year's King Kong. And for the Flask, I'm thinking, let me just bring up my sheet here. So obviously you had the highest lift last year. So I think you have a very good chance, if you're not injured, I think you have a very good chance of having one of the best lifts this year again. Jesse Pignonian also had one of the best lifts last year, and he's training like a madman from what I can see. And the interesting lift from last year, Grant Thompson. Remember him? He came out of nowhere and put up the second highest lift on the Flask in last year's King Kong contest. So that guy, he was new to the sport a year ago, and I can only imagine if he's been training at all, got to watch out for that guy.
You know, I saw him. What's funny, dude, I used to be so just inundated and, purposefully just obsessing about Instagram grip footage. And the last, couple months, well, really it's been 6 months, really with all this COVID stuff, it just really changed my businesses and stuff. And I have not watched Instagram for that kind of content in a long time. And I actually forgot who Grant Thompson was, but you're right. He came out of nowhere and put up a huge number on the Flask, and it looked like he did it effortlessly and probably had a little bit more in him.
Yeah.
I just saw his name yesterday, and it wasn't a grip video. I think it was more like a strongman or powerlifting video probably. And the names, the names just blend together in my head sometimes. But you're right, he was an absolute monster on that thing. And like you said, Jesse is right there every year. He's got a huge pinch. He just put up some of the most incredible double, 225 kilo plate videos. I mean, a farmer's walk. He transferred the 225s in a pinch grip from one hand to the other. I mean, that's unworldly pinch strength. So I can only imagine where his Flask might be at right now.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the only names I've highlighted as sort of the top lifts. Did you have any others that you thought might do well in the Flask?
Well, Luke is actually back to training now, and after he actually injured himself very, very badly on the tips tester in April, so he only came to the gym one time from April to July, and he just kind of tested out his finger to see where he was at. He tore a pulley in his right middle finger. And then he did compete at the U.S. Nationals and ended up doing better on the events this year than he did last year, which is amazing because he didn't even train for the events that much at all. And now he came back last week, or maybe 2 Saturdays ago, he returned to the gym to train again in preparation for King Kong. And he's already pretty much right back to where he was on the Flask. So I could easily see him coming in top 5, if not top 3 on the Flask this year, and with barely any work on it whatsoever. Now, as far as other names out there, I really don't know because of the grip videos that I've seen, I haven't seen a lot of people doing one-hand Flask. So I'm not sure, but have you seen the name? I believe his last name's Hodgson. He's from Australia.
Well, he's one of the promoters this year. Yeah, I haven't seen any videos.
All right.
Of him, but
Right. So I've seen a couple of him. I don't think I've seen Flask, but I just wonder what he's doing on the Flask because some of the other stuff he's put up has been really impressive, and maybe we can table that for right now until later on. But on Instagram, he's put up some videos. I didn't realize he was running the King Kong competition, but it's good that he is. So I think he could potentially be a force to be reckoned with. He seems to be one of these guys that have come out of nowhere, found out about grip, maybe from arm wrestling, and his background already made him grip strong, and he's been able to translate that strength into the implements right away.
Cool.
All right.
I know he's really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I bet he is because he's really good at a lot of these events. So that's cool. You don't know anything about him though, Eric? What his background is or anything?
I don't. Just that he's very excited about hosting it. He said his venue will be. I think he's running it at his place as well, due to COVID concerns. So he was expecting a smaller group, but I know he's really looking forward to competing.
Yeah, cool, excellent. On to the Crusher, man. This is one that I haven't seen. I haven't seen much at all from people on the Crusher. Luke said that Tanner had put up a number that was like 250 on the 2.25 Crusher. What have you seen?
Yep. I have not. I'm not a big video guy. I'm not on Instagram, and I haven't seen many videos. I know that I'm expecting the top lifts to be in the 250 plus range. That's what I'm expecting from the very, very best guys in King Kong. My big question is, have you heard anything about Lane? Is he competing this year?
No, I've seen him. I've seen that he's made some posts. So he's definitely been getting online, but I haven't seen like an upload from him in it's probably been 2 years. So
okay.
If he decides to compete, he definitely has the thick bar potential to put up north of 250 pounds. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So if he's going to be in it, I think he's the favorite to put up the biggest number. And Igor Kupinski from Ukraine always does very well in these events. So sure. Him, Igor, and Lane, Igor, and Tanner were my three picks for being at the very top of the 2.25 inch Crusher.
Yeah, I was just talking to Jason Dingy this morning, and he said that he saw a comment from Ari Talonen that everybody in Finland's doing like 100 kilos plus. It's just like they get out of bed, the Crusher's already set up in their bedroom, and they rip out reps with 100 kilograms. So people better be ready to get 100 kilograms on that thing if they want to finish anywhere near the Finns in that event.
Huh. Well, it'll be fun to see.
No doubt. How have you liked the 2.25 inch Crusher versus the 2.5 inch?
I liked it a lot. I think my favorite diameter for those rolling hands is probably the Rolling Thunder, which I think is 2 3/8. That's probably the most comfortable in my hand. Between the 2.25 and the 2.5, I prefer the 2.25. For me personally, I really lost a lot of motivation to train for grip this year with COVID and everything being canceled. I basically took a 3 or 4 month break from grip training altogether.
Okay.
I lost about 15 pounds and got into more just being healthy. So I started running, more just general weight training. But my strength and grip that I just started back up at in early September, I went from a point where, right before this COVID thing hit, I was peaking for the Arnold, and I was strong. In March, I was strong. But today, I'm probably down, 15% on all lifts. I'm hoping to get them back up a bit for King Kong. But, normally I think I would have been in the running, not for 250 plus, but for a strong lift in that event. But now I'm going to be, I expect to be a little lower than where I usually am for these lifts. So, but the handle feels really good to me.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw a picture of you with a pretty substantial beard on during the lockdown, right?
That's gone now.
Oh, it is gone. Okay, I was wondering if maybe you had a little bit of beard oil in that might have dripped on the Crusher or gotten on your fingers maybe, and maybe you had to maybe lay off the beard balm a little bit, brother.
Yeah, that was the fun. That was the first time I ever tried.
That's the first time you ever tried to grow a beard?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No kidding. You did a pretty good job, man. I was like, who the heck is this guy? Who's this newcomer on the scene when I saw your picture? So it was pretty darn impressive. So that's cool. All right. Well, so what's your body weight at these days?
So I about 205. So I will be in the 93 class this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's go on to the grab ball, dude. Have you seen anything put out about the grab ball as far as weights being lifted and things like that?
I mean, early on, I saw a couple of videos from Arjo and Harry, and they were doing some monster numbers. And the people I expect to do well, like I know Eve Gravel will do very well in this event. Tanner will do very well in this event, just because of their background and the way they're used to holding on to things. I think this event is right up their alley. So, not that Tanner needed another event to be good at, but this is, I'm sure, is right up his alley. And I think Gil. I haven't seen any videos from Gil, but I think Gil has, a very well-balanced grip, and I know he does some climbing. I think he will do well in this event as well. So those are the names that came up for me. How about you?
Right. So I haven't seen anything from Eve either, but I can tell you that like a month or so ago, maybe 2 months, Gil put something out, and he was doing like 180 plus. And I also know that Tanner just put something out last week where he had done 202 pounds. So that's probably the heaviest lift that I've seen besides the fins. And Adam Glass actually put out a post that he is predicting victory for Tanner again this year. So I don't know what exactly all went down. I saw that video of the 202. I saw a video of like a 110 pinch on the Flask. And that's about it as far as what I actually saw materialize from that training session. It was like, I think it was last week. So if Adam's prediction is accurate at all, it sounds like Tanner's putting up numbers that are pretty good across the board that could potentially lead him to victory. But of course, we don't know what anybody else is lifting. So it's all going to be figured out on game day, if you will.
Yep. Yeah, and we know that game day is not always the same as training. Like I would have expected, having seen a lot of the little bighorn lifts last year leading up to the contest, I thought there would have been even bigger numbers in the contest. But I know a lot of people lifted less, or even significantly less than they had in training. So that can happen, really. So.
Yeah, I mean, even in my experience, for instance, last year I was lifting over 80 pounds on the Dub Hub and only did like 72 pounds in the competition, which an 8-pound drop.
You were lifting 80 plus pounds?
Yes. I got up over 80. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I couldn't do it every time. But I do have a couple videos on my YouTube that I didn't actually like publish. I uploaded them, so I had them, but I couldn't put it together on the day of, man. My I don't know if it was like I got tired, or a humidity thing, or chalking wasn't optimal. I'm not sure, but it just wasn't there on the day of the event, and that happens.
What type of grip did you use for that event?
I used I guess what you would call the doorknob grip.
Okay, same as me, yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of like put your thumb first, then wrap your finger around, and then you kind of lift it behind you. Yeah. The hub grip.
Yeah, that worked well for me, but I know not everyone. I know that didn't work well for everyone. So everyone has a different preference with that device. Right. Exactly. And it comes down to experience on the implement, time on the implement. Yep.
So, I have stuff that I've bought to train on and use in one competition and have never touched it again. So it's just, luckily for me, I like everything is a business write-off. So I don't really sweat it too much when new stuff comes out. But not everybody has that, luxury. So,
right.
But I always encourage people, if you're going to, don't go buy like 10 implements from Iron Mind, like the Hardy Handshake or the I've heard of people buying the stacker, which is like lifting bricks and stuff. Like, you can wait on that, get that later. Instead, if you're going to be training for a competition, buy the stuff that's going to be in the competition so that you get experience on that. So it's better to have at least trained your ass off on something that took place in a competition, and then after the comp, it just collects dust, than buying something like, the stacker that is never going to be in a competition, and it collects dust anyway. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
If your goal is to compete.
Sorry, I stepped all over here. Go ahead and say that one more time.
No, I was just going to say, if your goal is to compete in grip sports, then definitely you want to get, if you can afford it, you want to get your hands on the actual implements.
Exactly. Yes. Joe Hodgson, or John Hodgson, or whatever his name is, from Australia, he put up a 198 on the grab ball.
Wow! Holy.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
198. Yeah, he's that beast that's just been lurking in the background, and now like the Florida Swamp Man, someone just caught a picture of him, and he had a grab ball in his hand. The Florida Swamp Ape, I should have said. But yeah, he just emerges onto the scene, and he's able to put up these big numbers. Now, I'm not saying that he didn't have to put in 6 weeks of training on it. That might have happened. I'm not saying that he just opened it up and he was doing that, because that isn't always the case. Generally, it's not. He probably had to work pretty hard, but he did put some videos up from a recent training session, I would say 2-3 weeks ago, and one of the lifts that I took note of was 198 pounds on the grab ball.
Wow. Huh.
What I've found on that, Eric, is like when I take my grip, I know right then and there whether I'm going to get a legal lift on it. There are some times where it just doesn't feel right, and I go to pick it up and my hand slips right off. There's other times
that happens
where,
to me in training as well.
Yeah, dude, it's like it'll slip off. I might break it off. Try like the 10th time, and I'm like, oh, there it is. I pick it up and I hold it for 5 or 6 seconds. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else on the grab ball?
Nothing else for the grab ball.
All right. What about Little Bighorn? What are you thinking, man?
So there's a number of guys who can put up huge numbers on this thing. Tanner came out on top last year, but I know that depending on where Luke is at, what his hand health is, Luke Raymond and Ivan Krivik from Russia.
Krivik,
two guys. So those guys put up some big numbers on this lift. So
I definitely remember one time last year, Krivik put something up on Instagram where he did like a 270-pound lift on the Little Bighorn. So
wow.
It didn't end up transferring into competition, as I recall. But man, 270 pounds, dude. That's just about as much as I've ever lifted on a vertical bar. So man, that is just mind blowing to lift that heavy on that implement. So. But I'm pretty sure Luke in training has gotten close to that as well. Didn't he get into the 260s? Yeah, he's been up there. Yes, he's been up around there. Not this year, but definitely last year he was up around there. And like the thing about Luke that is really crazy is like he can throw 100 kilos on there and do it like 20 times. So it's just it seems to be that like on some things when he's peaking at a certain number, that base is just so wide. He can do heavy weight for just so many repetitions without even tiring and without even re-chalking. It's amazing.
Huh.
I didn't have it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't seen. Just trying to think, I really haven't seen too much content coming out from anywhere on the Little Bighorn. Nothing that I can recall at all. Aside from Ardo is very he's real good about putting out a lot of footage, and he'll put out like 5 or 10 training clips from each training session. But I can't even remember anything that he's pulled as far as like an actual number on the Little Bighorn implement. Maybe it's just one of those things where people like to keep that information guarded on the Little Bighorn. I don't know.
Maybe. I just know that there's a lot of guys who can mix things up on that lift. I'd have to take a look, but there was quite a few people who lifted more than 100 kilos last year on the Little Bighorn.
Yeah. I'm hoping to be there this year. I'm hoping to at least hit 100 kilos. There's been a few days since Justin Nationals. Like I said, something clicked with the technique here recently. So I have been over 100 kilos in like 3 sessions. So I'm hoping that correlates to being able to do it in competition this year and set a new PR on that, because I've been stuck right in the same range for quite a while now.
Okay.
You know, another guy that we didn't talk about with the Little Bighorn was Adam Glass. He's got some tremendous strength as well in those vertical bar style lifts. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up well above 100 kilos this year.
Yeah, I mean, even when it was to lockout in the I'm thinking 6, 7, 8 years ago, he had the record for a while there. So definitely a contender.
Yeah, man, for sure. I can't think of anything else for Little Bighorn numbers, Eric. Anything else on your end for Little Bighorn?
No, I can tell you. I can run through the numbers I think are going to be sort of right near the top. I think the Flask, you're going to be looking at over 120 pounds. The Crusher, I'm thinking you're going to be over 250. Grab Ball, I think we're going to be over 200. And Little Bighorn, I think we're going to be over 250 for the top lifts or top couple of lifts.
Yeah, I agree.
Numbers
I
seem,
I think you nailed them. The person that wins is probably going to have at least 2, maybe 3 of those lifts that you just mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if we still have some time, I have sort of a couple of names for every weight class people I think we should look out for.
Dude. Share that with us for sure.
So if we start with the men's classes, the 59 kg class, that's like 130 pounds. It's always the smallest men's class. There's just not a lot of men that size who are competing in grip sport. That's often won by like a teenager. So I really feel that's sort of an up for grabs. It really depends on who shows up on that day, but I don't think there's a clear favorite in that class. 66 kg, Jerome Bloom won it last year. I think he probably has what it takes to win it again. The question mark in my mind is Eve. Eve walks around typically at about 145 pounds, which is about 67 right about 66 kg. I think sometimes he's like a pound over. So if Eve pulls the 60, whether Eve is in the 66 or he's in the 74, he's going to be the heavy favorite. So for those 2 classes, whatever Eve decides to compete in, I think he will very likely be the winner. 83, there's no clear standouts in that class, but the Finns do well. Timo Laudamas and Nico Junalainen. I'm sure I'm butchering those names, but those guys always do well. But I think that is a very competitive class without a clear favorite. So that's an interesting class to me.
Well, take note. I have cut down to 83 kilos this year, Eric. So that could throw your production down. COVID was very good to me.
When's the last time you weighed 83 kilo, Jedd?
Fifth or sixth grade, probably. That's no joke, dude. I was when I was 12. I was 5'11.5".
Holy shit!
Yep. Yeah, I've grown like an inch and a half, 2 inches since I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
In the 93, so in the 93 and the 105, there's so many guys who float around those classes, and it's hard to tell. Like last year, last year the 105 was super stacked. A lot of guys who typically compete in 93 were competing in the 105 last year. So
yeah.
I have some names, but it really depends on where they decide to compete. Gil's always in that class, and he won it last year, so he's obviously one of the favorites. Luke, I don't know if he's going to be in that class or if he's going to be in the 105, but he's, regardless of which class, he's going to do well. Tanner, I don't know if he's back down under 93. He's another one. Whether he pulls 93 or 105, he's the heavy favorite to win whichever class he enters.
Dude, he was looking like he was about 100 kilograms when I saw him on Instagram the other day. He's so thick, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's getting strong.
He might not be that heavy, but I mean, he was looking jacked. And just to throw in about Luke, if he can stay away from the Haribo gummy bears, I think he's got a chance to make it into the 93 kilo class. But it's hunting season. It's hunting season. He's going to be in the tree stands, and that means the Haribo is going to be very plentiful. So it's going to be hard to tell.
I'm going to be in that class this year, so I'm hoping to mix it up. And definitely Brown. He's strong. He got second place last year. He holds a lot of world records in the country crush implements, and he's
strong dude, man. Very strong.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's doing better every year, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he does in that class. In the 105, a bunch of monsters. So once again, Luke, Tanner, depending on if that's their class. Ivan Krivik, Ivan Kupchenko from Ukraine, Steve Millard, Adam Glass, Thomas Larson. All of these guys are contenders for top 3, top 5 in that class. So it's a very, very competitive class, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In the 120s, there's Harry Talonen, there's Sierko, Grant Thompson last year. I don't know, which class are you thinking of competing in, Jedd, this year?
I'm right on the border. I'll probably make the 120. I can stay away from the Chinese restaurant for a few more weeks.
So then I would definitely put you as one of the the top guys in that class. And
Thank you.
In the supers, there's Jesse Pignonin, there's Artem Yushchenko from Ukraine, there's Joel Dirks, there's Ardo, there's Justin Major, there's a lot of strong dudes.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know, any guys that I didn't mention that come to mind for the men's classes for you?
Man, you pretty much hit the big names on the head.
Like I said, these are all names of people who competed last year, so there's going to be some question marks, like this Joe Hodgson. Who knows where he's going to be?
He's a man to watch. I don't know how much he weighs. I don't know how big his hands are. All I know is he came out of nowhere, got all the implements, and started putting up close to 2 bills on that grab ball. So that if you can master that grab ball, dude, that means you've got some time on your hands to experiment, or you're just super balls ass strong. So
yeah,
probably a little bit of both.
Yep. For the overall King Kong grip men, I really think the grab ball plays right into Tanner's strength. So if Tanner is in this type of shape he was in last year, to me, it's his event to lose. Now, I know Jesse Pignonin really wants this as well. And even Tanner, I believe, has said to Jesse that he thinks he's predicting Jesse will win. So I think those two are in my opinion, the favorites to win overall.
Yeah, they're right there.
But
I can't even think of anybody else that would total across the board anywhere near them, to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah. Top 5 contenders, I think Gil, he's a very, very consistent performer in King Kong. Yourself, Arto was doing very well this year, it seems to be, with the different events. Harry Talonen, even guys like Joel Dirks, Grant Thompson, and Jason Dingy. Holy, he keeps getting stronger and stronger. Every time I see videos of him,
I know.
He finished 25th. I think he finished 25th last year. I think he's cracking top 10 this year. That's my opinion.
Yeah, he's going to be much better than top 25. So I work with Jason on his programming, and he's getting so good that I've actually been sending him like crawfish advice. Like, I told him that he needs to find some cactus that he needs to squeeze on his off days, and none of it's worked. I told him that he has to start eating baby powder, and it hasn't affected him at all. Nothing I throw at him has hindered his ability on any of these events, and his numbers just keep going up. I mean, thumbless inch lift, inch dumbbell with cups on the heads. I mean, probably this week sometime he'll clean the inch dumbbell. So I don't know, man. I'm trying everything. I'm trying everything I can. If you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough, and I'm trying to do everything I can to hurt his chances. So
for the women, I don't have as many names, but I will go through the names that I think are the favorites. In the women's 72 kilo, I think you pronounce her name Yana Grandelin. She won all 4 events last year, so she easily won that class last year. So I think she's probably the favorite this year. 84, I got Hilde Holtebu and Patty Luxner. I think are the 2 favorites in that class. Once again, barring any newbies coming out of the woodworks. 100 kilo, that's the new class. I think Lorna Patton is in that class this year, and if she is, I think she's one of the favorites because she won the unlimited class 2 years ago. And in the super as well. Do you know if Sarah Chapelau is competing? Because if she is, I think she's the favorite.
Well, I think she's got a good chance of winning as well. I haven't heard anything from her. I have seen quite a bit of content from her recently on Instagram that was related to, it looked like more like Highland Games or Highlanders competitions that she's been doing. But, there's a very good chance she's just been sneaking the grip in on the side. So I take it she's not running a venue this year?
Not running a venue, no.
Okay, because I know that they've run competitions up there in the past, so I didn't know if maybe she was planning to run one. Might have to reach out to her and see if she's interested in coming down again because she competed down here last year.
Yeah, I think I will. Because if she does, I think that she's my pick to win the Queen Kong.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a good bet. Of course, I'll be pulling for Kelly, who works out at my gym, to kind of come on the scene and make an impact. But she doesn't have as much of the strength background as a lot of the other women. So we got to get her on the fast curve to success.
And in the Open Masters class for the men, Arto won it last year. I think he's probably the favorite to win it again. But Steve Millard and Mike Rinderly, they finished 2 and 3 last year, very, very close to each other. So I think those are probably the top 3 names have a good shot at getting top 3 again this year.
I'm hoping so as well. Mike's had a really tough year with his body health. Had some issues with his hips. Probably going to need at least one, maybe both of his hips replaced. So he's coming up to have a good time on the comp day, but the chips will fall where they may. He has not had a good string of luck.
Okay.
But
those were my predictions for King Kong this year.
They sound like solid predictions, bro. You did a good job in your research. Thanks a lot, and I'm glad we did this show. What else can we cover, Eric? What else? Did we miss anything? We need to go back, or we pretty much hit it all?
I think we've hit it all. I just hope I hope everyone's getting excited because after many months of not being excited, I'm finally getting excited that I'm going to be able to compete again. So I just hope everyone takes this opportunity to get back into competing in grip sport.
Yeah, man, for sure. And I welcome any questions that you might have. Send them my way or leave them in the comments section. We'll get you pointed towards a venue. You can also reach out to Eric and and find out where the closest venue is for you. I'll put a link to the discussion thread on the grip board that has all the information with the King Kong venues on it that you can click in the description box. And Andrew Pankey is also involved as one of the coordinators, so you can hit him up. But lots. One thing you're going to see across the board in grip sport, guys, is if you have a question, a lot of these guys will hit you back and help you out to find the information that you need. So don't be afraid to ask. And that's whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or the grip board. Ask the people, and they'll get you going in the right direction so you know where to go and how to be ready for the King Kong grip on October 24th, 2020.
Yeah,
Eric?
note that there are a few venues that are running it a little early. Some promoters, they can host it up to 2 weeks earlier. So I know like the German venue is running on the 10th or 11th. A couple are running on the 17th. So if you are interested in competing, please reach out to the promoter of the venue where you intend to compete. If you have trouble contacting the promoter, please contact me, and then I'll make sure you get in touch with the right person. Because although the vast majority of the contests are happening on the 24th, there are a small handful that are happening a little before. So please reach out to your promoter. I'd hate for you to to be ready to compete on the 24th and then only find out it's already happened.
Right. That's great information, Eric. I'm glad that came up. Thanks for sticking that in there. Anything else, brother?
No, thanks a lot for arranging this, Jedd. I really appreciated having this call with you.
Yeah, man. No doubt about it. Thank you once again. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Any questions you can leave in the comments section, and all the best in your training. Hope to see lots of you competing in the King Kong grip this year. We'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.